for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs!
And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida TV. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Monday, February 5th. How is everyone doing tonight? And I want to thank our partners and our sponsors, starting with Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They are driven to be different, as well as these guys right over here. La Bitte TB, brewed in Quebec and a winner of a dozen international awards. La Bitte TB offers quality microbrewery beers made with premium ingredients for everyone's taste. La Bitte TB, embrace your true nature. Also want to thank Playground, over 30,000 square feet of new gaming, dining, and entertainment space. Time to reacquaint yourself with Playground. World-class sushi, AAA steaks, live shows, a brand new poker floor, and so much more, located just over the Mercier Bridge, only minutes from downtown Montreal. Playground. Playground, experience the Strip without the trip. And also brought to you in part by Accent Insurance Solutions. And of course, all of you know that insurance isn't created equal, and you know where to find the right solution for you. Accent Insurance. Accent doesn't sell insurance. They shop it for you. To find the right product, right on the money, whatever your insurance needs, home, automobile, or business, call the Accent team today at 514-363-3636. It was just a couple of days ago that Sean Monahan was traded from the Montreal Canadiens to the Winnipeg Jets. And of course, we also had our NHL All-Star Weekend. The Montreal Canadiens were back at practice on Sunday at 2 p.m., also practice on Monday, and after practice, leaving for Washington, of course, where they visit the Washington Capitals tomorrow night. Without further ado, let's bring him in. He is a former Montreal Canadiens scout in the Bob Gainey administration. He is the founder and owner of Recruits and Recruits.ca. You can get a monthly subscription, the entire platinum package, for under $4 a month. As a matter of fact, it's $3.99. And he is the co-host of the Recruits Draftcast podcast, a Sick Media agency production. Grant McCagg, quite the introduction. How are you?
Hey, well, just trying to keep my dog from starting to bark there, and I think I pulled it off, so we're good to go, Tony.
My God, you got so many titles, it's unbelievable. Former scout, Bob Gainey administration, founder, co-owner, recruits.ca, the magazine, the subscription, co-host of the podcast. My God, you're busy.
Master of none, Tony.
I would disagree. You are pretty good at what you do. I think everyone watching by now has figured that out. And to all of you watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, Twitter Live, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for being a community, for being the Sick Army, and for all your engagement. And we feel the love. We'd like to feel it even more. You know what goes a long way for us anyway is if you go on Apple, if you can leave us a 5-star review with a nice comment, it really is our way of feeling the love. That's where we can read most of the comments. Thank you very much for that if you do that. Now, before getting to Marty St. Louis, before getting to Juraj Slafkovsky, before getting to the players, before getting to everyone, let me just shut off my cell phone there. Why don't we do this? Why don't we hear from Sean Monahan, his first words as a Winnipeg Jet?
First off, welcome to Winnipeg. Judging by your response, it's been less than 24 hours, but enough time to soak in the trade in your new home now?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of sunk in right away. I mean, a lot of messages from, obviously, teammates and calls from throughout the organization. So I think great people and obviously a great place to play.
When Elias went to Vancouver, did you kind of have the spidey senses tingling that something might be happening your way?
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't sure, and I woke up to a few messages from my agent, and next thing I know, I was traded. So I was expecting to be moved, and was ready for it. So I think coming to Winnipeg is really exciting. Great team, and like I said, a lot of great people.
Sean, where were you when you got the news? Were you on a tropical vacation, or?
Yeah, I was in Palm Beach. It was early in the morning. I got a text, made a phone call, and then kind of just waited, and it all went down.
Hockey world is a small one in terms of guys on the Jets. Would there be some players that you have some kind of history with, whether it's working out in the off season or just know a little bit?
Yeah, I've skated with Perfetti a few times in the summer. I know Scheif, played against him a ton throughout junior and obviously in the NHL. And other than that, you're just kind of familiar with guys just playing against them. You're in the league long enough where you have that respect for other players, and you watch a lot of hockey as a player. So I think starting to get to know the guys here.
Looks like you're going to start on a line with Cole and Nikolai Ehlers. Must be some excitement with what those guys are capable of.
Yeah, big time. I think it's, both special players, really smart. I'm looking forward to it. You get a few touches today, and you're excited to see what comes from that.
Playing against the Jets a couple of times this season already, Sean. Now, what are your impressions of especially the defensive structure and posture that Bones has in place that is making this team the best defensive club in the league this year?
Yeah, no, they play hard, and when you play with structure and the little details of the game, it's hard to beat teams like that. So I'm real happy to be a part of one.
Power play is such a strong part of your toolkit there. I don't know how closely you follow where teams rank in the league, but the Jets are struggling on the power play. So how much of a boost do you think you'll be able to give them, especially playing in that familiar spot in the bumper?
Yeah, no, it's good for me. I just got to get comfortable back in the bumper there in Montreal. So when you're feeling good and you have that confidence with touches and obviously surrounded by great players on that power play, you want to get them the puck and be able to relieve pressure. And that's something I've done kind of my whole career.
Sean, one of the things that...
All right, let's stop it right there if we can. All right, we'll get back to Sean Monahan in just a second so we don't go on for an extended period of time. We'll stop there and we'll continue. But Grant, he didn't know where he was going to get traded. But once again, you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. He expected to be traded. Lines of communication with Kent Hughes, they were open since last year. And then again in the offseason, the plan was to trade Sean Monahan. It was their plan, and it probably was his plan too.
Well, it sounded like I think Hughes admitted that they had conversations that when he was signing, and I think the promise was that if they were out of the playoff picture coming up to the trade deadline, that they would move him to a playoff contender. Or I don't know that he was signed. I think that was. There were rumors that was discussed, and Kent didn't refute them. And I think that's what happened. And so I know that some players were disillusioned about him moving, but I don't think Sean was disillusioned about it, and it's a business. So that's why it happened,
Yeah. It was weird to see a picture of him actually wearing blue and not wearing a red T-shirt or not wearing a T-shirt with the Canadiens logo on it. But it's odd to say, but the blue kind of looks pretty good on him. But we'll talk about the Canadiens in just a second. And it's Grant, it's funny because how things change in a couple of days. Late last week, I had you on, and I asked you what your top 10 draft prospect pick looks like going into the 2024 draft because. It looks like the Canadiens obviously are going to have a top 10 pick with you. Take a look at where they are in the standings. And tonight I got you back on because you put together a list of your top 32. And I'm actually going to ask you what 21 to 32 looks like because the Winnipeg Jets right now are 6th in the National Hockey League, give or take. They're 6 points behind first place Vancouver. They have 2 games in hand. So, the Jets, the way they're going, and obviously they had a terrific first 60% of the season or whatever it is, they're going to have to continue. But, the Jets are going to be one of the top 6 teams in the league. It looks that way. It definitely looks that way.
He's going from, playing with the likes of Josh Anderson with 2 or 3 goals to going on a line with Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti like that.
Yeah.
That's your second line. Like that's a pretty that could be a really good second line. Holy moly! And it's kind of cool that he's going. He's played 15 years in the league, and all 3 teams are Canadian. So I think that's kind of a cool part of it too.
It is. But also, what a response by Winnipeg to Vancouver picking up Elias Lindholm. When you think about it, it's like the perfect response by the Winnipeg Jets to Vancouver picking up Lindholm. Like, I don't know if another team, considering Vancouver, considering in the West, considering you're going to have to go through them, I don't know if another team, it would have been more appropriate for Sean Monahan to actually be traded to another team other than Winnipeg. It seems like it's extremely appropriate for them.
And I think they probably put the heat on. I'd love to know all the details about why he traded Monahan a month before the trade deadline, but he did mention something about the market can change, right? But with Lindholm going, I bet you Winnipeg thought, well, I mean, the only guy that we really want that's left is Monahan as far as that second center slot. And if another team jumps ahead, we've got to try to get him now, But I also think, and it was neat at the press conference for Kent, where somebody asked him about Gignac and the possibility of maybe signing him, and he had that sly look on his face, like he knew something was up, right? And then a day later, they announced that they signed Gignac, which is a cool story because 4 years ago he was playing in the ECHL. Now, if that's not a testament to keep playing, not give up on your dream, he signed with Laval and he slowly worked his way up the lineup. And this year he was a point per game guy, which is pretty, and it's funny. I tweeted in November that I thought that they should call him up, not knowing that he was already signed to an NHL. It wasn't signed to an NHL contract yet. And somebody pointed it out, said, oh, okay, because he's the one that deserved to be called up. He was the best forward on Laval. So they signed him. I think that may have gone into Hughes deciding to pull the trigger now too, because they wanted that contract, right? They need that contract to sign Gignac. And then there's also the opportunity with Monahan gone to bring him up, get a good look at him and see if he can be one of the guys that has a legitimate shot to be one of the centers next year on the Canadians.
On that note, why don't we get back to that? It was on Sunday morning at around 8:30 in the morning, as a matter of fact. 8:25 a.m., the Montreal Canadiens announced via their Twitter account that they recalled Lucas Condotta from the Laval Rocket. His name was brought up during Kent Hughes' Zoom call on Friday when he said, Mitchell Stevens was up here and Luca Condotta, and they're guys that can probably slot into the fourth line. So Condotta is called up. And then 5 minutes after they make that announcement on their social media, they announced that they agreed to terms on a 2-year, 2-way contract with Brandon Gignac. For those who are unaware of Brandon Gignac, it's an incredible story of perseverance, like Grant just mentioned. We're talking about a former third-round pick back in the 2016 NHL entry draft. 2016. That's almost 8 years ago that he was drafted. 4 years with the Cataractes de Shawinigan of the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League. He gets drafted by the New Jersey Devils. He plays a couple of games with Albany in the AHL. From there, he goes to Binghamton, or they probably ended up changing names, pardon me, the year after. But Binghamton Devils for a couple of years. Then ends up playing an NHL game in 2018-2019 season. Back to the AHL with the Binghamton Devils for a couple of seasons. Like you just mentioned, Grant, from there goes down to the East Coast Hockey League to play with the Jacksonville Icemen, to the Laval Rocket for the last 2.5 seasons here. And with the Laval Rocket in his first season, 26 points in 48 games. Last season, 33 points in 49 games. This season, 42 points in 43 games. Born in Repentigny, a gars de chez nous. He's about 5'11", 6 foot tall. He's under 200 pounds, but he plays with a lot of heart and a lot of energy. What an amazing story of perseverance. Amazing.
What's cool, I got thinking, and I mentioned it, I think, on our last podcast, the name Jonathan Marchessault, when we were talking about Q players that persevered because they were competitive and stuff. Marchessault was 26 years old before he got his first NHL shot with Tampa. And he was a point per game guy in the AHL when he got called up. How old is Gignac? He's 26 years old, point per game guy when he's getting called up. So let's not. I hope that he shows that, hey, just like Struble did there. Hey, I want to stay in the lineup, and I'm going to prove myself. And it'd be just a great story if he could. If he could have a great end to the season and end up, making the Canadiens next year as one of their centers. We'll see.
Is another great story, speaking of guys from the province of Quebec, is Alex Barré-Boulet, Alex Barré-Boulet was an undrafted player. He's an undersized player. And you know what? He's been up and down from the AHL to the NHL with the Tampa Bay Lightning. And then, they're the AHL once again. And then from there, a couple of games with Seattle, and then back to the AHL, and then back to Tampa Bay, and back down to Seattle. Their series played 32 games with the Tampa Bay Lightning. That's not bad for, once again, an undrafted player, up and down. Perseverance. These are great stories for so many NHLers, so many hockey players who are in the East Coast Hockey League at 23, 24, and they're saying, you know what? There's a lot of them who pack it in, eh? They pack it in, and unfortunately, they'll never really know what could have been because they didn't stick with it. And they said, you know what? I'm packing it in. In any sport, it all starts with believing in yourself. If you don't, you're going to end up packing it in. And if you do, you're going to stick with it. And obviously, these are examples of guys who do believe in themselves. It's amazing.
Gignac, I liked him in his draft year. I remember him well. And I was with McKean's at the time, McKean's Hockey, and ranked him as a second-round guy, and thought that he had a shot at being an NHLer because he played, he's very competitive. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays bigger than he is, and smart, very smart player. And you're smart and you're competitive and have a decent skill set, you have a chance. So I hope that he scores a few goals, just like Harvey Pinard when he came up last year, and gets a really long look next year at camp.
Once again, we are going to get to Marty St. Louis. We are going to get to Juraj Slafkovsky, and we are going to get to Grant McCagg's draft list of picks 21 to 32 that he can talk to us about. But without further ado, let's go back to Sean Monahan.
I have said on Friday after the trade was just how you kind of mesh with younger players. What about that? Why is that sort of a thing that you kind of take on? Because it sounds like you're doing that with Uri and.
I still feel like a young guy, and I feel like you just got in the league. But time flies. But no, everyone. At some point goes through it. Sometimes when you're younger, you can struggle, and the league gets the best of you. So I like to pay close attention to younger guys and make sure everything's going well, and make sure they're at their best every day.
No matter how long you play in the NHL, Sean, will there be butterflies Tuesday night in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, for sure. There was today. This is the most nervous I've been for a practice in a long time. You're coming, meeting new people, coming to a new facility, and get to know everything. So driving here, I was nervous, and even before I stepped on the ice, I was nervous. So I think to still have that's a good feeling. And like I said, it's a great place to play. I loved every time I played in Winnipeg, and the excitement and being a Canadian kid playing in the Canadian market.
I was going to ask about that. You're kind of doing the tour of Canada here, right? Starting Calgary and Montreal. The passion, I guess, in Canadian markets. So what's it like to join Winnipeg in the stretch drive, a push for the playoffs, and what might come of that?
Yeah, no, it's special. As a player, all you want to do is have a chance to play in the playoffs, and I think going to have a good chance here, and try and push and go far on a good run. So and playing in a Canadian market, doing that, it makes it that much more special.
How much of a benefit is it, Sean, to get here now with 35 games in the schedule, as opposed to maybe if it had been in and around the deadline where, there's 20, 22 games or whatever to get acclimated and ready.
Yeah, no, it's huge. I mean, you get traded closer to March, it flies by, and next thing you know, the playoffs are starting. So, I mean, get to know the city, get comfortable, move into a place and make it feel like home. So, I mean, guys have already been doing that for me here, but I think it goes a long way being here earlier.
One of the ongoing, I guess, frustrations with the Jets this year has been the state of the power play. As good as everything else has been going, that's somewhere that you've had a lot of success, and looks like you're going to jump right into that top unit. What do you think you can bring to the power play, and with the talent that this group has, do you think it's just a matter of time before it starts to click?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been here one day, and I mean, you got to earn the right to be on the power play with how you're playing. But I mean, I've played in the bumper my whole career basically, and it's a spot I'm real comfortable and familiar with. And I mean, today I was there, and I mean, you got Kyle Connor on one side and Scheif on the other. It's two real big weapons.
Do you feel that your face-off acumen will be an asset to this team, especially in all three zones?
Yeah, no, I mean, I take pride in it. It's, I mean, as a centerman, you want to start with the puck. So, I mean, I don't know exactly how I'll be played or used or anything like that, but, I mean, anytime I'm taking a face-off, I'm trying to win it. So that's where my mindset's at.
You can get penalty killing duties as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure yet. I mean, it's a possibility for sure. I mean, you gotta earn the right to do all those things.
There you have it. Sean Monahan, who, of course, is going to play center with the Winnipeg Jets and is going to play on a line with Cole Perfetti and with Nick Ehlers, is going to play on the second line of the Winnipeg Jets. There's a guy who's going to take his share of faceoffs. There's a guy who's going to win his share of faceoffs. The challenge for him is going to be if he can help out a slumping Winnipeg Jets power play, which is pretty much the only thing that's slumping with them. Just everything he says, excited about going to Winnipeg. I wouldn't expect them to say otherwise, but not everyone's always overly excited about going to Winnipeg. There's anywhere you can go at the same time. He wasn't an unrestricted free agent. It wasn't going to be up to him to decide where he was going to go, but it will be up to him to decide where he's going to end up re-signing because his contract, of course, is up at the end of the year. Grant, before we get to I can't wait to see that once the season's going to be over. If he has a good run with the Winnipeg Jets, how many guys go unrestricted free agency and say, I'm re-signing with Winnipeg, right? It's happened. They've had players there for a long time, but it could be Monahan's last contract of his career. He's played in 3 Canadian markets, like you mentioned. Came from Calgary to Montreal, now to Winnipeg. I can't wait to see where he resigns. I know some people watching right now are probably thinking that there's a chance that he resigns with the Montreal Canadiens. I think there's a chance, but if he re-signs with the Montreal Canadiens, it's because he's not getting a lot of term elsewhere.
Yeah, probably. I imagine he prefers getting traded to Winnipeg mid-February as opposed to the end of November, right? Because most of winters, Winnipeg in the springs is a beautiful city, so. The majority of his time here is going to be, the weather's not going to be that bad. Another month of enduring the cold winter, and then spring hits, and spring in Winnipeg is nice. So I wish him all the best. I'm actually going to be rooting for Winnipeg. I've always kind of liked Winnipeg. I like the underdog city. I think that they get a bad rep for being the city that nobody wants to play in. But didn't Scheifele and Hellebuck sign long-term deals there in the offseason?
Yeah, you're right. They did. Yeah.
So
isn't it odd though? He's leaving a losing team to go to a winning team, but he goes to a team that the Canadians always beat.
There you go. Well, that might change now. We'll see. But no, I'm going to be rooting for Winnipeg because I think Monahan. I've followed Monahan's career right from he played for the Ottawa 67s, and that's my hometown junior team. So I've been a Monahan fan since he was 16 years of age, and just a class act. I wish him all the best.
He's everything you could want in a player. Okay, now one of the questions asked was his influence on young players, and the name Slafkovsky was brought up in the question. So speaking of which, Juraj Slafkovsky. On Sunday afternoon was asked about, Monahan leaving, of course, being traded, and how much he'll be missed. Let's hear from Juraj.
There's not much we can do about it now. Yeah, it's great player, but yeah, we still have 3 games to play, so we'll just focus on that now.
What did he mean to you?
Oh, well, he's a great guy, great person, and just having him around and like all his jokes and everything, like just daily basis was great to have him around. And yeah, like I said, we'll miss him a lot, but yeah, we just gotta keep playing.
Did he help to teach you Did he help you to become a pro, a better pro?
Yeah, for sure. Like everything he does, and just to see him what he does, like when he comes to ring and stuff, and yeah, of course that helps not only to me but many more guys.
So just to see what he does and how he does it and the way he comes to the rink and the way he conducts himself helped me and others become better pros. But at one point he says, we can't focus on that. We're a great guy, great teammate. We wish him well. We got over 30 games to go here, and that's going to be our focus. Grant, clearly the Canadians are also probably thinking they have enough leadership in that locker room to get over this rest of the season or be able to go on without Monahan. I know that you wanted him to play with Suzuki and Caulfield for quite some time, but before that, and Slafkovsky had a cup of coffee with pretty much almost everybody, but Monahan did have a very, very good influence on him. Does it worry you that Monahan will not be there for at least the rest of the regular season? We don't know what happens in the future, but for at least the rest of the regular season to help Slafkovsky through growing pains that are not quite yet over. Not over yet, right?
No, I've been calling for him the Canadians to try Slav with Monahan since last year. Like it was weird that they never really tried him with Monahan for any more than a period or two, or maybe one game last year until the last 2 weeks, and they looked like they got instant chemistry. That's one of the things that I'm going to regret the most about Monahan going, is the fact that Slav had finally found a center that was. It seemed like Monahan looked for him, unlike guys like Matheson, who doesn't seem to want to pass the puck to Slav. Monahan did, and he gets it back. You know, they were finding instant chemistry, and it's too bad that looked like Slav finally found the center where they were clicking together, and away he's gone. So maybe it'll be interesting to see. I hope it's not Evans that ends up playing with Slafkovsky, because I think he needs somebody with a little more offense. As good as Evans is defensively, he's he's become a 3 or 4 goal a year scorer. I mean, Slav needs more offensive upside than that. I don't know if they're going to. I guess for now, maybe I hope they plug in Gignac with him and give him a try with Gignac and see if they can get something going together. But here, I hope it's not, he's not playing with Condotta or Evans. And I guess when Newhook comes back, presumably he's going to go back to center, even though I think he's better on the wing. They don't have much choice right now with Monahan gone and with Doc injured and with Dvorak injured. Newhook probably goes back to center with Slafkovsky, and they didn't find chemistry when they were together earlier in the year, but Slav is a better player than he was then too. So maybe maybe they can, if Gignac and him play together and they don't click, then I could see Newhook being Slafkovsky center for the rest of the year when he comes back.
And Newhook has returned and practiced with his teammates. And once again, the Canadians are going to be in Washington tomorrow night. And Sean Monahan's going to be in Pittsburgh with his Winnipeg Jets tomorrow night. Okay. Montreal Canadiens coach Marty St. Louis was asked, how do you replace Monahan?
It's one place. I think he's, Monty's a pro. I think he's a well-liked guy. He played in every situation for us. I don't think you necessarily replace him with just another player. I think it's just collectively, the league keeps going. you'll lose guys through injuries, you lose guys through trades, and you just got to stay the course and keep pushing, and that's what we intend to do.
Did you have any particular reaction when Kent told you that this was going down?
I mean, I care about my players, and of course I'm disappointed, but I understand it, and it's it's a possibility, but that day comes and the feelings, what kind of feelings you're gonna have, So when it happened, I was, I was disappointed in the sense that you lose a good player, but just the quality individual, but all along it's a possibility. And I'm happy he's going to a place where he's going to have a good opportunity.
There you have it, Marty St. Louis, losing a good player, losing a good person. Happy he's going to have going to place, good opportunity for him. And of course, he just talks about everyone's going to have to do a little bit more. And I know it's very cliche, Grant. I know it's very cliche, but I have to tell you, count me among those who are surprised that the Canadians have played the way they've played and have produced the way they've produced. And I know that they're still closer to the bottom than they are to the top. But when they lost Kirby Dach in the fourth period of the season, and we're told he's out for the entire season, and then add to that, they lost David Savard for 6 weeks and Caden Gooley for 4 games and Raphael Harvey-Pinard for about, over 15 games, and Alex Newhook for about 3.5 months, and they were just piling up one after the other.
Yeah.
I thought the Canadians were going to hit rock bottom, and they didn't. And all Marty St. Louis said from that moment on when Dach went down was collectively everyone's going to have to give a little bit more, and that's his message. And you know what? I know a part of the fan base is devastated, but when you want to evaluate what you have in-house, this is a great way to do it now. Monahan's not here. Gignac is there. Let's see what he can do. Condotta's there. Let's see what he can do. Others are going to have to step up. Let's see what they can do. Jake Evans has been tested to a point where he's in a chair where maybe he shouldn't be. But you know what? Now it's even more on. Let's see what he can do. Alex Newhook's going to come back. Let's see what Alex Newhook could do, because when he went down with that injury, I think most of us thought he was a better winger than he was a centerman. When he comes back now, does he end up becoming a better centerman than he was a winger?
Well, exactly. It's gonna give the Canadians an opportunity to get a good look at Newhook back at center again. They probably weren't going to have that if Dvorak didn't get injured and if Monahan stayed. So, next man up. And I think, Hughes is on record saying it more than once that he'd like Newhook to be a center. And I think when they traded for him, that was the hope, that he would play center for them, and ideally maybe second line center. But it was a fairly short addition for him the first time around. And he looked like he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready. He looked better on the wing than he did at center, but it wasn't like it was for 2 seasons or something. So if he gets 20, 25 games at center, maybe he'll look better. But if he didn't get that, Tony, going into next year at camp, he's not probably even in the picture to play center, to be one of the guys vying for a center spot next year. So I think in a sense, when you look at when you strip away the sadness of Monahan going and stuff, you're exactly right. It gives other guys opportunity, and you hope that they step up.
All right. So once again, the players are disappointed, and Marty St. Louis was asked about the players' disappointment. This is what he had to say.
To me, it's having a big vision, not a small mind. Big difference. And they're not easy news for any players to see a player like Monty leave. Like I said, he's a well-liked guy. These young guys that have seen him for a couple of years now, that's not lost because he's gone. he's had a chance to impact some of these young players, and it's a big reason why we brought him in. But it's it's big picture stuff that you have to keep reminding the guys, and that's what we're going to do. You just keep going, and I think we have a great opportunity here to keep going collectively, keep improving our collective play. So their conversation, but they have feelings. It's normal. They care about the individual probably more than they do about the players. So it's an unfortunate part of professional sport, especially team sports, but it's part of it.
Who's gonna get a spot on
Grant.
Everyone had an opinion whether or not the Canadiens should have traded Sean Monahan. And I know they got to trade Sean Monahan. They're in a rebuild. They have a plan. They're not going to sway from it. And even though everyone realizes they're in a rebuild and they have a plan, the whole discussion came up. Monahan, he's only 29 and, he's not finished. He's still young and all that stuff. Good player, and they won't be able to get another player like that. But for me, that's the quote of the year. That's the quote of the year. It's about having a big vision and not a small mind. That's what Marty St. Louis is trying to tell you, right? Their plan, their rebuild, they want to do it a certain way so like that they could be very good for a long time and take a crack at the cup. They don't want to sway away from the plan because keeping Monahan here will make them more competitive, maybe gain a few more points in the standings, take away some playing time from some younger players, take away what could be some flexibility on the cap in vis-a-vis his next contract. So it's all about stockpiling assets so that at one point some of those picks can develop and play here, and at another point some of those assets and picks can be used to go out and get immediate help when they've turned the corner and then when they're ready to do so. That, for me, that's the quote of the year. It's about having a big vision, not a small mind. I think it tells you everything you need to know, Grant.
Well, they're not making the playoffs. What was the use of keeping Monahan for the rest of the year, only to lose him for nothing? So you could have win a few more games and get a worse pick than you're going to get without him. So everything pointed towards him getting traded. So it was inevitable once they were out of the playoff picture that Monahan was going. And I think there was a promise there anyway. So I don't know anyone that's disappointed with it, just shouldn't be.
No, and you're right, Grant. And if I can also, we have to keep in mind what Kent Hughes said a couple of days ago, right? Because a lot of people watching are probably going to say, well, no, Grant, you're not going to lose him for nothing because if you don't trade him, you keep him here and you sign him long-term. Well, A, he expected to be moved. B, he probably wanted to be moved. And C, Kent Hughes told you, I was unable to give him the contract that he wanted at this moment. So at that point, you're going to keep him for the rest of the season. He's going to walk because you can't offer him. And Kent Hughes also went on to say, we don't have enough clarity with our situation yet. So there are still some questions that remain to be answered, and they don't have those answers just yet. They're going to end up getting them along the way. Okay. Having said that, they get a first-round pick for Sean Monahan. The Winnipeg Jets are in 6th. They're 6 points out of first. They have 2 games in hand. If they drop in the standings, it's not going to be lower than 21st pick. And it could be as high as the 30, 31st, 32nd. So on that note, you have your top 32, but you have picks 21 to 32. Is that correct?
Yeah. We did, and this is kind of good timing, Tony, that we can talk about this a bit because we didn't have time to really speak about we did a draft cast of my top 32 on the weekend here, and we ended up not having time to talk about the 21 to 32 picks too much. So I don't mind going into it a bit here with you.
Good. So let's do that. Let's bring it up. And Yellow Sammy, Juliana at Master Control. Here we have it. Grant McCagg of Recruits and Recruits.ca. His picks 21 to 32. And folks, once again, when you subscribe to Grant's publication, the Recruits magazine, and you can get the platinum package for $3.99 per month. You have access to absolutely everything. So here you have it. Different packages. NHL draft coverage is $199. Canadians coverage throughout the season, $249 per month. Canadians NHL draft coverage, everything combined, is $399 per month. Full coverage of both the Montreal Canadiens and NHL draft eligible prospects. Every now and then you get some interviews, all that stuff. It's amazing bang for your buck. Let's get back to your list, 21 to 32. Okay, talk to me about these guys, because as someone who doesn't scout, these names, they don't say anything to me right now. So let's go. What can you tell me?
And I mean, there's no guarantee that it's going to be one of these guys that they pick. There could be somebody that I have in my top 20 that drops down, or there's a guy that comes on later, obviously. So I'll just qualify it that, you know, there's no guarantee that it's going to be one of these guys. But as you can see in this grouping, at least, there's quite a few forwards, which is good, which increases the possibility that it might be one of these guys that they pick, because I think they're going to lean heavily towards drafting forwards in this draft if it's their best player available, or even close to it, that's what they'll go with. But there's some guys here that are going to be attractive to the Canadians, I think, with that Winnipeg pick. The two, like, there's three Western League guys right in the middle there. Ryder Ritchie, Andrew Basha, and Tarek Parasak. They're all producing really big numbers in the WHL, all very skilled, all have second line winger upside. Now, if they can end up getting two top six forwards in this draft class to add to, you consider that Doc's coming back. You hope that Newhook can take another step. You got guys like Joshua, Owen Beck, Oliver Kapanen, all in the mix. So that's a nice, that makes for a nice group of young players that can battle it out for those six spots, right, in the lineup. Down the stretch. But I mean, Pridham's highly skilled kid that's 6'2", playing in the BCHL. Letourneau's 6'7". Actually, I have to update that. This is an older list, and they've got him at 6'7". Luchenko, I just watched him today. Guelph, he's their first line center on the first PK and the first power play in his draft year. Got him marked down there as a right winger at 5'10", but he's actually now 5'11", and they think that he's still going to grow some yet too. So he's a potential top two center, and certainly a middle line center potential that's very versatile. That would be a great pick as well. I don't know what Bob Roth thinks of Chernyshov, but he's a really, really good big Russian player that with skill that can shoot, has top six upside all day long as well. So there's lots of possibilities in that group for the Canadians to pick. And I think it's a great opportunity for them to add two guys that can really, with their top two picks, that can really vie for top six spots down the road.
Grant, you went through most of the names, but because we have the chart up right now, some people will actually be listening through Apple or Spotify and won't actually see the chart. Why don't we do this? We'll go through everyone from 21 to 32. Once again, a brief 30 seconds on each one if you can. And correct me with the pronunciation if I get some of them wrong. At number 21, you have Igor Chernyshov, center/left winger with Dynamo Moscow. 6'2", about 192. So once again, talk to us about him quickly.
Yeah, well, I mean, Chernyshov's he's got all the attributes to be a second line winger, like a power winger, and the Canadians are are likely going to be attracted to that type of player. Although, I mean, you would like to see him use his size more, and that seems to be the knock on him, that he maybe doesn't play as gritty a game as you'd like to see. So whether that's what the Canadiens desire or not remains to be seen. But certainly they could use another skilled winger with size, and he fits that bill. Luchenko, as I say, is now a center.
22. At 22. Jet Luchenko, center with Guelph OHL.
Yeah, and 5'11". All the scouts been telling me that he got measured at the top prospects game, and he's grown another inch. And he's very young, young looking. And I don't know if the scouts know that his growth plates aren't closed or not, like Reinbacher, but they all seem to think that he's going to keep growing yet. But he's just a solid two-way NHL center prospect. Like I had one scout that compared him to Poitras, who already made who was a Guelph center actually before, and there's some similarities to them. So it seems like Guelph's kind of pumping out the two-way centermen that are a little undersized but play big and play smart.
If Trevor Timmins was still with the Montreal Canadiens and director of amateur scouting, and they were picking, and EJ Emery was available, a right-handed defenseman with the U.S. National Development Program. Trevor liked those U.S. National Development Program guys. He'd probably be looking at him. 6'3". What can you tell us about EJ Emery?
Yeah, he's a stud defenseman, like an athlete. Very raw at this point, but great skater, good size, very smart, dependable defensive defenseman who also has some upside. He's been compared to Keandre Miller, who has developed quite well with the Rangers, and if he can end up being anything close to Miller, he's certainly an attractive prospect at 23 for a lot of teams.
I like Miller a lot. When you were describing him at the beginning, I said, my God, it sounds like Struble. When you started talking about a really good athletic, good defensive defenseman, then you name Miller. Miller's an upgrade. Miller's something else. Yeah.
And actually, he does remind me a bit of Struble. That's not a bad comparison at all. Just he's taller,
Thank you. If anyone ever asks you and you bring it up, say just Tony Marinaro gave me that name. Thank you. 24th, Ryder Ritchie, right winger, Prince Albert.
Yeah, one of the more skilled players in this draft class. He's had a little bit of a disappointing year, but it was great talking. Al Letang, who had him in the summer with the Hlinka teams, just raved about how skilled this kid is, and he's got second line winger potential for sure. He's been injured and maybe a little disappointing this year, so he kind of he was thought to be a top 15 prospect early in the year, but he's kind of dropped a little bit. But maybe that's to the benefit of a team like the Canadiens. Who knows? Maybe. I mean, we've seen it before. Kids that have that potential that drop and end up being really, really solid prospects. They bounce back the following year. So Ritchie, I think, would be on the radar for the Canadiens, but they might be a little bit shy about the size. As I think they ideally would like to get add some size to the top six.
At 25, a 6'6" left-handed defenseman in Finland, Jesse Pulkkinen.
Yeah, he's an undrafted. Actually, he's going to turn 20 this year. Blossomed, came out of nowhere. Put up insane numbers in Finnish junior this year, and ended up making their World Junior team and being really good. He's a good skater. He's got a great shot. He's 6'6". He's starting to play with a little bit more of a physical edge, and his defense just keeps improving. So he's a real wild card for this draft.
Three wingers at 26, 27, 28. You alluded to them before. You talked about them before. Andrew Basha of Medicine Hat, Tarek Parasak of Prince George, and Jack Pridham of West Kelowna.
Yeah. Basha just keeps putting up the big numbers. It was thought by some that his high stat numbers at the start of the year were in part due to him playing with Caden Lindstrom, who was third on my list. But Lindstrom's been out the last few weeks, and Basha's point production has not dissipated at all with him gone. So he's proven this to the scouts that it's not just his numbers aren't just a product of playing with good players. He creates offense, plenty of it himself, and has plenty of skill too.
6'7" centerman, Dean Letourneau.
Yeah. He's from Arnprior, which is where Trevor Timmins lives. So he knows him quite well. I don't know if Columbus has a pick in the 20s, but they might be targeting him too. You never know. But yeah, he's a really skilled big centerman that reminds me a little bit of Logan Brown in his draft year, who was highly touted, and Ottawa ended up moving up in the draft to get him at, I think it was 11 overall. He never quite panned out, but Letourneau has to, just like Brown in his draft year, has to maybe compete a little harder away from the puck and stuff. And you never know which way guys will go with that. The big guys, sometimes it takes a little longer. Sometimes they don't ever figure it out. But if he ever puts everything together, he's an intriguing prospect. He could be a home run for a team.
How's the skating, Grant? Because a big man like that, 6'7", it's not easy.
Yeah, I mean, considering he's put on, like, growing 2 or 3 inches in the last year, and usually the guys are lumbering and uncoordinated when they're 17 and they're growing like that. His skating's not bad. He's got especially once it gets going, like typically for a 6'7" guy, his first 3 steps aren't super quick, but no, his skating is going to be, it's not going to be an issue. So very intriguing prospect.
How many 6'6", 6'7" centermen come to mind for you? I'm thinking of one right now.
Yeah. What are you thinking of, Mike McCarron?
That's one of the guys I'm thinking about. Brian Boyle's another one.
Yeah, Brian Boyle. Yeah, there aren't that many
Brian
of
Boyle.
them. It's almost too tall to play, But
yeah,
Boyle and McCarron both took. I mean, McCarron's finally breaking into the NHL as a regular this year, and Boyle was like the same age, 25, 26, before he could really adapt to the NHL speed properly. And maybe Letourneau, like he's at St. Andrews College, and that's the issue with him, where you're concerned. You're like, geez, will he be able to, adapt to the higher leagues as he goes along? But you're gonna have 4 to 5 years for this guy to develop. If you do draft him, don't be expecting to see him in the lineup for at least 5 years.
All right. Okay. A couple of centermen at 30 and 31, both out of the USHL, Michael Hage and Sacha Boisvert.
Yeah. Both have top, second line center upside. And again, if you can get a guy that at the end of the first round that potentially could fill a second line center spot for your team, that's a nice get. They're both very skilled. They can score, they can pass, good size. So there's some decent prospects that are going to be available with that Winnipeg pick. And I think, Kiva Harju, 5'10" finish left defense. I mean, he's been injured most of the year, and I really don't think that it's somebody as skilled as he is. He was thought to be maybe a top 10 pick because he was a superstar when he was 15, 16, but he's dropped some. I mean, we saw him earlier in the year, and it's just, he's going to have issues defending against pros. as skilled and as smart as he is. But I don't see the Canadiens being interested in drafting him regardless.
By the way, Sacha Boisvert is a kid from the province de Quebec. He's a Three Rivers kid. Trois-Rivières, yeah, from Trois-Rivières.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't doubt that he's somebody that the Canadiens are looking at very seriously.
Amazing stuff, Grant. A part of the fan base is a little bit disappointed, of course, that Sean Monahan was traded. But you showing us the list here, picks 21 to 32, a little bit of optimism that the Montreal Canadiens could get a pretty good player, even though Winnipeg's having a really good season and their pick's going to be a high one. But it looks like the Canadiens will be able to have themselves a player. But then again, it's the draft and anything can happen. But at least we have all the information here. Thanks, Grant. We'll talk to you soon, my man. And I want to let everyone know, thank you. I appreciate it. From recruits.ca. Check them out.
Thanks, Tony.
Cheers, bud. All right. Okay. I want to let everyone know that this conversation with Grant was actually recorded just a little bit earlier because the Caballeros are traveling. All right. So if there's something I missed, well, then now you know. I will also let you know that the Caballeros, myself, and hopefully we could see Grant and all of you or many of you at the poker tournament that's going to take place for Sammy. It's going to be Sammy's first annual poker tournament. And for kids who, of course, have spinal muscular atrophy like Sammy, because all proceeds are going to be donated to Cure SMA Canada. It's going to be at Playground on Saturday, February 17th, starting at 6 p.m. It's $150 entry plus buy-ins and add-ons. Drinks are included at Playground, of course. So we'll see you there. And the number to call for your tickets, or maybe you want to buy a table, that would be pretty cool, is 514-219-2725. 514-219-2725. All right. Okay. We'll be back tomorrow night, same time, same place. And of course, we're going to go live because tomorrow night, the Montreal Canadiens are in Washington as they visit the Capitals. And our regular collaborator when Montreal Canadiens play on Tuesday nights, for the most part, is former Montreal Canadian Max Lapierre. So I'll be back with Maxime Lapierre tomorrow night. I want to thank Energy Transportation Group, as well as Labita TB, as well as Playground, and as well as Accent Insurance Solutions for their partnership and their sponsorship, and most of all, their friendship. We really much appreciate all the support they give us. I want to thank all of you, our Sick Army and our Sick community. Thank you very much for being with us all the time, all the fan engagement, all the comments. Please, if you can, leave us a 5-star review on Apple. If you really love us, that's what we want you to do. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's really our way of feeling all the love that you have for us. We'll be back tomorrow night, 10 p.m. after the Canadiens and the Washington Capitals. For Agnello, Sammy, and Juliana, they're the Cavalleros. I'm Tony Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. La Vida TV, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.